Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Emily. And Andrew's got a Telecaster in his lap today.
Yeah. Would it be an offset podcast without a Telecaster? I mean,
yeah, it would. It'd probably be more so. But yeah, I think you knew the answer to that question before you asked it, bud.
Well, now I'm offended deeply.
Yeah. All right. That's fine.
I just kind of wanted something to hold.
I think people expect me to be offended. I'm so offended all the time, people think.
Breaking news, local white liberal woman is offended.
No. Oh, no, not me offended.
Not again.
No. When was the last time I was, offended? Oh, man.
Tuesday?
What? Why would I have been offended on Tuesday?
I don't know.
Who offended me on Tuesday?
I'm picking a random day of the week arbitrarily for the sake of humor.
I was offended. Was I offended when someone served me mushrooms? Oh no. I'm offended that you thought I liked mushrooms.
Already had an appetizer. I don't have mushroom for anything else.
Yeah. Well, as this is launched, yesterday was my anniversary. 7 years married.
Congratulations.
I still like him a lot.
Yay.
Yes.
You made a good choice.
I think so. Going on that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, etc. dates with that man. I like
that
him.
man.
That man. Riccardo Giuseppe. Yes, I like him. He's a good guy. I was going to say he made me this coffee, but actually I made myself this coffee. He heated the water, though.
I actually haven't done coffee yet. Just done
It's 11 a.m. Shoot, buddy.
I'll probably do coffee this afternoon. Although, I might make tea. It's like the perfect time of year to do lapsang souchong tea. Oh. And especially since I've got the barbecue going right now. I think it's having a smoky tea with smoky meat. I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'll do both, and I just won't sleep tonight.
That's a lot of smoke. That's a lot of smoke. Are you sure you don't want to separate those flavors as Scooch?
I mean, I did tell my doctor that I don't smoke anymore. Don't tell him that I'm still smoking the meats.
Yes, smoking the meats. Smoking the meats. I think that's in moderation. Smoked meats are better than smoking cigarettes.
Yes. Although I really ought to start, I should just have a disposable mask, for when I'm out there doing, working the smoker. Cause if I go out there and tend the fire, all the smoke out there, the next day I end up sneezing, a little bit of black soot. Should probably just disposable masks.
Yeah. I mean, it is smoke. So it's probably a good idea. I think Rick does that, honestly, when he doesn't like being around smoky conditions. So he already does that. He's going to outlive all of us.
Should wear the blue one and then look for the little nostril holes as the particulate matter gets stopped.
The vents?
No, just a plain surgical mask, and then see if any patterns form from the intake of the air. Okay.
Oh, okay. I think I'm catching that drift. I think I got you.
If I am over the coals and I go, is it gonna make two black sooty scudges?
That's not what a scudge is. You're just making fun of me for saying scudge.
I'm gonna start finding creative ways to use that in a way that sounds like it might work, but that's not what it was intended for.
No, a scudge is a bit. You scooch a scudge. You scooch a scudge. You move over a little bit. Or you put in just a scudge of reverb. It's just a little bit.
Yeah. I'll go look at my kid later. You got a little scudge on your forehead.
No, I don't even know what I don't know how. I don't know how to spell scudge. I don't know what region scudge is.
We should start a poll. How to spell scudge. I'll start with SKU, DJE.
DJE.
Yeah.
That's not right. Scooch. Little bit. It is.
Well, probably with the GE makes more sense grammatically, but J just sounded like that extra bit of flair of like, this just feels not right.
Slang for a little bit scooch. I think it's with a
SCUJ?
SCUG.
SCKOODGE.
No, scooch. No. I don't know.
Is it even a real thing? Has this been fabricated?
No,
in your
it's
memory?
not.
Is this going to be like the Mandela effect?
I just really want somebody to tell me. I don't know. Now I'm just like, now I'm like getting really confused. Scotch? A scoosh. Oh, scoosh. I think I've just been saying it wrong.
No.
A scoosh. I don't think it's scooch. I think it's a scoosh. SKOSH. A scoosh. A bit. That's a skosh. It's a skosh. A skosh. Oh my god. A skosh. A skosh. Okay, just if people are, it's from a Japanese word of skoshi. A little bit.
I've got SKOODGE on Urban Dictionary. Scudge. Verb, to use or take something without permission. Example, your parents are out of town. You should just scudge their car for the weekend. They'll never know.
I think it's skosh. Skosh.
Do you have any guitar pedals I could scudge?
No.
Any amps I could scudge?
No.
When are you going to be out of town? Can I scudge that super reverb?
I think it's skosh. I think I've just like, it's one of those things where, you hear a word wrong and maybe just my family picked it up weird and skosh turned into scudge. Scooch is skosh. Yeah. All right. Well, scudge is now an Emilyism, as many other things have become Emilyisms over the years. And there we go. And maybe one of our, maybe we'll make a new shirt that says, turn up a scudge.
just a scudge. How should you? We'll have to ask the Patreon supporters how we should spell scudge.
Yeah, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/getoffset at the $5 tier or above for access to our super special Discord server so you can have input on how to spell scudge.
Indeed. We have several tiers of Get Offset Patreon because we have tiers for fans.
Yeah.
Not for fears, just for fans.
Tears before bedtime.
Yep.
Tears of a clown.
Yeah, you lost me on that one.
Tears for Fears. Tears of a Clown is a Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson?
It's evoking some very intense imagery in my head now that I don't think I wanted.
Smokey and Robinson the Miracle. It's a miracle song. I think that was Smokey Robinson. Yeah, Smokey Robinson, The Miracles. You don't know that song, Tears of a Clown? You gotta listen to more Motown. I don't think I do. You gotta listen to more Motown.
There's a lot that I need to listen to more of.
I highly recommend Motown. It's great songs.
No, I like Motown.
Motown did this really cool thing. One of the reasons they had so many hits is because like they had like focus groups.
Yep.
So they'd all listen to some. But did I talk about this? They all listen to songs in a room together. A bunch like they're like A&R people, and they would listen to a new song, and they'd be like, okay, would you call a radio station to request the song? And if everyone didn't raise their hands, or if at least one person didn't raise their hand, like I would call specifically to request the song if I heard it. They wouldn't release the song. So that was their like quality control. Like, is this hot enough that like I would actually go out of my way and out of my day to request a song on the radio? So yeah, if they didn't feel that way, then yeah,
sucks.
Like, Yup. So yeah, Tears of a Clown. Tears for Fears, Patreon Tears for Fears. You also like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, leave us a review on iTunes. That actually is extremely helpful. I wonder if we've got any reviews lately on the.
Have we had any reviews lately? I haven't checked in a couple of weeks.
I haven't checked.
This feels like, is this like slight masochism? I'm waiting for like a terrible review to come through. I'm bracing myself for.
Well, it's weird. It says we update bi-weekly, but that ain't true. No, I don't see any recent ones. I said no. Stop giving me Jaws. Or I'm gonna start giving you.
Uh oh. Chicken picking inbound.
That was not chicken picking. That was just some good old school James Bond.
I was expecting the chicken picking when I saw the Telestrat.
Oh yeah, I picked up my Nashville Player Plus Telecaster.
I just like calling it the Telestrat. I don't know why.
It's a Nashville Telly. It already has a name.
Yeah.
It already has something that's called. Can I show you what's new with me though?
Let's do it.
Yes. I've actually had this for a bit. I'm kind of waiting for something to come back to me before I put it on my board. But I got the Lift from Goodwood Audio.
There we go.
It is a little attachment that goes on your pedal board. It goes up and down, and you can put your power or what have you underneath it, and you can put pedals on top of it. But I was gonna, I'm excited. I can put perhaps my Milkman the amp on top of it, and my Engine Room series. Well, one of my Engine Room power supplies underneath it, because I have a flat board that I use with Sunday Crush, and I want to put my power. I got power needs, so I'm excited. I'll be able to put the Engine Room level 12 underneath this, and it actually looks really nice. I always love the branding on the Goodwood stuff.
No, so I like their stuff.
Yeah, big thanks to Grant for sending this to me. It looks beautiful.
Now, is this the one that's also got like the hinge like lift up on it, or?
Yeah, I got those parts right here.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the other thing. So just again, I'm gonna have to wait until something comes back to me. I've got some things loaned out at the moment.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yes, fair enough.
But that's exciting.
Yeah. I'm always loaning shit to people. So
you lift me up. Sorry, I can't help it. It's just Josh Groban, I know it's not lift, but
yeah, and then that's not all that's new with me.
Oh, double trouble. Here we go.
I got the large boy, the
HXL.
XL. So big thank you to Line 6. I also have the Line 6 power amp behind me. It doesn't weigh as much as I expected it to. It's really lightweight. Yeah. So I'm really excited. I get to take that to my next Sunday Crush gig on October 14th. The power amp with the Pod Go.
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, just absolutely thrilled. So I'm very excited.
You got the
unboxing.
It's supposed to be an easy box to open, I promise.
It looks easy. Oop.
It's just like that XL bit makes it a little bit more cumbersome to like open all the way. Oh, this is a live unboxing. I just saw tape get cut.
All right. I'm not gonna take it all the way out of the box. But it's in there. It's
nice.
In there. Yeah.
This is gonna be a good chance to dig into more programming for you.
I know, I'm excited. More instructions.
Case candy.
Power supply. Always good to have the power. Oh, it's not that big. It's not very big. I know Ann Slakowski got one. She made some very cool ambient noises. So I'll make less ambient noises, I'm sure, but
I mean, I've just been really impressed with the Line 6 engines lately. They've come a very long way in digital.
Ooh, it's pretty.
It's the same like black sparkle that they do on the regular HX stock? Yeah. Uh-huh. It's a great finish.
Ooh. Soft. So many outputs and inputs.
I mean, just looking at it, I feel like that straight up could be someone's rig, period.
Oh, I mean, that's the point. That's totally the point, yeah. Volume. Like
that's the ultimate fly rig right there.
Expression 1-2. Stereo send. Left, right. Oh, it's a stereo send. Return.
Well, stereo is always better.
Left, right input. Left, right output. Headphone. And MIDI. It's like they got this. This thing has got everything.
Yeah, everything.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm excited to dig into that. Obviously. So I'm all line 6 out. I've got my modeling needs. I'm excited for the new, like, I know they have some kind of mood-esque, presets or patches.
Interesting.
Not patches, sounds, tone prints.
Yeah.
Not tone prints. That's not what they're called. Emily.
They've come a long way, like the pitch shifting stuff in particular. I think the earlier versions of Helix, earlier firmware model updates, I was not super impressed. But that's going back, probably 3, almost 4 years now on what I'm thinking about. And just trying some of the updates for just on the Podgo that I've got over here.
I like the sense stuff on the Podgo. I don't have the patience to set pitch shifty stuff, particularly. I know that about myself. That's a personal failing.
Well, you know what they say, life's a pitch.
That wasn't the worst you've done. That wasn't the worst. So let me just get some stuff out of my way.
I'm glad I've set the bar low.
Yes.
Yeah.
That bar has been set. Hello. Cool. Anything new with you, dude?
Anything new with me? Just continuing to grind out. I'm gonna have some stuff ready for Fox Cairo by Black Friday weekend, so keep an eye out on that. I'm excited and just continuing to be blown away by how consistent my orders have been.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, no, it's been super neat to just kind of watch this grow. I say watch like I'm a bystander, but there's moments where I feel like it's not just me. It's like the entire community coming together and getting excited about a product. And there's something magical about that. So I would say that's what's new. But outside of that, just continuing to grind because I've got to beat Jason.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah.
Yep.
I won't ask you for a progress update.
Don't ask for a progress update. Not until it's over.
Not until the party's over. Well, I'm not going to lose any pounds this week because tonight I will I have an anniversary dinner with my husband.
Aww.
Italian food. Well, I guess pre-anniversary.
Well, enjoy your Italian food.
I just realized I said the day this drops is my anniversary. Actually, it's just the day we're recording. The day after the day we're recording. So actually, a week ago was my anniversary.
Fair enough.
The day this drops, I'm in Cincinnati, which means I also won't be losing weight because I'll be eating Skyline chili, taste of Belgian waffles, Geta,
Graters,
probably some Cincinnati style chili. Definitely Graters. Yes,
I've never even been there. I know like what all the cool food things are now.
Yes, all the cool Cincinnati foods. This Midwesterners know how to eat. This is true about us. We got some good foods. Maybe I'm gonna be Holtman donuts.
I'm gonna be in Wisconsin here very soon.
Yes, this is true.
And I'm excited for the cheese curds.
Them curds are good. We don't have those.
I think I'm gonna backslide on any weight loss that I get this month.
Like, well, you better get them 5 pounds then before, so you can get them back.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yes, do it right. Do it right.
So, and to be clear though, it's like not just about like weight as a number. This is just a good metric for me to keep an eye on to motivate me to continue going and getting in shape.
Yeah. Understandable. Totally understandable.
Weight, age, all just a number to me this month. Just not thinking about it too hard.
Yeah. It's about healthiness. I haven't lost any weight, but I'm definitely generally speaking, eating a lot healthier. A lot more vegetables and a lot less trash.
Incredible how much of a difference it makes in just overall energy and mood.
Mm-hmm. And sleeping a lot better. That was today I did sleep a lot later.
Happens. That's good for you.
Sometimes it's good. Take those days off where we can get them because I work too much. I work a lot.
You do.
Yeah, I do. All right. Cool. What else are we going to talk about before we talk about our sponsor?
In terms of other news, I don't have anything right now. I'm just kind of in the mode of gearing up, ramping up, getting excited. Down to like a month of Black Friday.
Yeah. Ooh, 6 weeks.
That time is slipping quick.
Oh boy, yeah. I'm going to take the rest of the Sunday and not think about that kind of thing because that's what I think about on my day job. Yeah. I know lots of companies are getting their releases back up. It was such a slow summer as far as releases go. And then I felt like a bunch of shit dropped kind of all at once. So I think brands are trying to at least get some sorts of pre-orders going, ramping up production so people can get those gifts for themselves and others. Let's be real. People are adding that, the Benson Germanium boost to, their ideal list for their significant other to get them. Hey husband, give me that Benson Germanium boost for my birthday for Christmas, or they're buying it for themselves.
Be a great stocking stuffer.
I mean, it would fit in a stocking. It's so small.
Mm-hmm. But it's got side jacks,
It does.
I suppose I'm starting to grow old enough to get over my childish dislike of side jacks. It's just me being petty.
But plugs have gotten so small.
They really have.
Even they've gotten so small.
I kind of just want to go buy a bulk pack of the EBS flats.
Yeah, those even fit on because sometimes the pancake ones wouldn't play well if you had the side running into the top jack ones.
Yep.
So that was the problem. So now you don't even have that's not an issue.
Yep.
But if you had them all sandwiched together like that, sometimes especially I imagine this was a bigger problem for guys with bigger feet, especially because even with my small feet, I have a size 6.5 shoe, and sometimes I have trouble hitting those pedals that are all next to each other. And people complain all the time, oh, Chase Bliss has side jacks. I'm well, it has all those
dip switches
at the top. You can't
just
have both.
Drill a hole right through those.
Yeah. No, but then it also had the aux switch and the you need some space between that and whatever pedal's next to it, or you're not you could never operate those with your feet.
You could operate it with your hands though if you get one of those the collaboration guitars they did with Built. The
oh
mood
yeah,
guitars,
those look really cool. Yeah,
those look so freaking cool.
Yeah. As of recording, they haven't announced more info about those, but I think that at least some of them are going to get auctioned off.
I think those are going to sell for a lot. But I think they just look so stinking cool. And some of the colorways they've done, they're just so freaking gorgeous. It's just unreal.
Yeah.
It's not very often I look at a guitar and go like, whoa. Like, could spend a month and not get bored.
Yes. I mean, and they work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They work really well. Cool. Yeah, so this week's episode of the Get All Set podcast is sponsored by Caroline Guitar Company, based out of South Carolina, which is where I first heard people use the word Scooch instead of Scooch. They probably said Scooch. I don't know. I think I just thought Scooch sounded funny. That was probably a fully a me thing.
I think it works better.
Scooch. That's probably just completely a me thing.
I think Scooch, it does sound better as Scooch.
Scooch is Scooch. No one's ever corrected me.
I mean, it gets the point across.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's not technically correct, but it communicates the right thing.
Yeah. If you like more than a skosh of havoc, you'll really like the Caroline Company pedals. Their havoc switches are Andrew's personal favorite thing.
Yeah.
About the pedals. Yeah.
I like wild and wacky and borderline out of control. Yes,
but I like pedals that can do it all, and they have such range, which is what I really like about them. Like they're like a wolf in sheep's clothing in that way. Like they can do that very nice, normal, sweet, well-behaved sound. But you know that picture of that guy who's like in a nice suit, he's got like a tie and all that, and you can see in the mirror behind him, he's like a complete freak. That's their pedals.
It's like the assless chaps of
exactly.
Pants.
Yeah. It's the pedals are mullets in the best way, business in the front and a party in the back.
I like that.
Yeah.
Business up front, party in the back. Caroline effects. I think that should be the new slogan. Business up front, party in the havoc. There we go.
You want to get weird? We can do that. You want to be nice, normal, and sweet? We can do that too. Well, I remember, I think like one of the weeks after I got the somersault, I was in the studio and the woman I was recording with was so fucking stoked on the somersault and the sounds it made. And unfortunately, that track did not make her EP, but she was just like, I made a psychedelic song. And she was so excited about it at the time. But I think she just, I don't know whatever happened to that song. Sometimes you record things and you're like, I'm excited for this to get released. And then you wait 2 years and then she puts out the EP and you're like, this is 2 acoustic songs and like 1 song I worked on 2 years ago.
Well.
And then like, and sometimes she reaches back out to you, like, can you re-record the guitar part in a different key? I'm like, yeah, of course. And then she doesn't release that one either. I'm like, you paid me 3 times.
Yeah, you got paid.
Yeah. I know, but I'm like, they were nice songs. Yeah.
Maybe maybe they're so good they're being saved for the full-length album later.
Maybe. I hope.
Gotta think positive.
I hope they see the light of day. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. I was watching something. I forget what it was. I think it was probably. Oh, it was SNL the other night on October 2nd.
I didn't even realize it had started again.
Yeah, it was Owen Wilson. He was talking about how, a live show, you get immediate feedback like a musician does. He's like, you do a movie and you have to wait a year for the feedback. I'm like, man, sometimes you're a musician, you gotta wait a year for the feedback.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You don't always get it right away. Sometimes you record something and you're like, well, maybe this will get released. Sometimes it won't. Like there are whole albums like that just never get released. I think remember that band 9 Days? They did that hit song Story of a Girl. Like that song was unavoidable and huge. They did a second album. It just got shelved by the label. And I don't think it ever got released. You're like, yeah, sometimes you work on stuff and it never gets released. And I think that's a little less common for movies, like never getting released, a major studio movie. Because you think about like a budget for a movie, like a studio is putting like millions of dollars into a movie, but they'll shelf like an album they put $35,000 into. They'll be like, no, 9 days, we're not releasing it. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I was watching something, and then like something I saw on Instagram. I think it was Wendy Melvoin and Lisa Coleman from Prince of Revolution and Wendy and Lisa. Yeah. Someone was talking about how they had worked. I worked on a record with Wendy and Lisa. It never got released. I assumed it got destroyed in that big. There was a big fire and like tons of like Warner Universal. I think it was Warner Universal masters got destroyed. Like 20,000 master recordings or something got like just shame. huge loss for music historians. And she just thought, like, I thought it just got destroyed in that fire. Like, this is something from the early 90s and is one tape. I think Wendy Melvoin had one tape of it, so it didn't completely get destroyed. But that's like music just gets gone forever. So you don't always have it. Sometimes you do have to wait a very long time for the feedback, if it ever happens. And I feel like that's less common for movies. I mean, obviously there are indie films that never get released ever, but.
No, but I think that feedback aspect is very important. I think that ties into a necessary human aspect of just being an artist, is that feedback, that connection to the consumer of your art. And I think that's very, very natural.
Yeah. And what do you do with the feedback too,
Throw a fit.
Well, Owen made a joke that he only reads. Someone told him, like, if you read the good reviews, you have to read the bad ones too. And he's like, the trick is, no, you don't.
Yep.
And yeah, you know what? No, you don't. You really don't. It just depends on like where you are and like, is it constructive? Because the thing is like, sometimes the bad feedback is not constructive. Sometimes it is. And I think that you should try to read the constructive negative stuff. I really do. But I feel like especially on the internet, a lot of it ain't. And sometimes it's coming from a place that is, kind of valid. Before the episode started, Andrew and I were talking about something that's kind of unrelated to any of this. But like ultimately it was about someone's like art or whatever. And, we're never going to talk to this person about like what we feel about this person's art, but we have opinions about it, and if we were to present that person, maybe it would make this person's art better. But in our mind, but would this person care? Probably not. They're just gonna keep doing what they're doing, and good for them. Whatever. I don't. So, why should they care what we think?
Music business question for you.
Go for it.
Is it always an artist's responsibility to manage the connection to an audience? Or is at some point, is that the artist's or the label's responsibility or someone else to help them curate their audience and help them connect and have direction?
I think you need to rephrase that question in a way that makes sense with words. What do you mean?
So let's use Owen Wilson as that example. Owen Wilson shows up, he does his job as acting, and he goes home. And like, to a certain extent, yes, that feedback is important. I'm sure he values it. And I'm sure at a human level, it's very gratifying when a movie does really well and to see people love my performance. Yeah. But it wasn't his job to write the storyline. It wasn't his job to like write the content that was being done. He was just participating in it. Right. And so in that particular instance, while he is an artist, the ultimate responsibility on connecting with the audience is going to fall on the director, producer, etc. More on that level. Now, is that similar all from a music business perspective with musical artists in the way that they relate to the other staff that goes into a successful act? And
it's so when you're looking at something like that, like I feel like at some levels, like an actor is, they're a part of a much larger production. And, sure. Owen is at a point where, he can largely pick and choose what he wants to be in. He, and I think a lot of people, when they look at a movie or something, you see this in reviews a lot. So-and-so did what they could with what they were given. You do see that a lot in reviews. So sometimes if a movie is bad but a performance is good, or if an actor is really good and her dialogue was bad, they'll say she kind of did her best with that. Or if the opposite is true and everything else seems to be really good but the actor is kind of not doing well, you're like, she didn't seem like a good fit for the role. Like you can see people can pull that apart a little bit better. And I feel like that's a little bit more akin to like being a drummer on a song where, like, hey, the song's kind of a dud, but the drums are fire, the production's really good, but the song is bad, or the song is really good, but the production lacks and kind of hides things. So it is, again, kind of like an ecosystem. I have no idea if this is what you're even asking. But like,
so
as
ecosystem
far as, like,
about what makes it great, but like the ecosystem as it pertains to connecting with the audience, like brand management, customer experience management, to use corporate terms.
Like Owen talking to people, or like whether or not someone, like, you can't control like if somebody connects with a thing.
Sure,
I literally have no idea what you're trying to say.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, are you talking about like responding to tweets, or?
So not direct response, but more in terms of like, does the art connect with the audience? And then, so like if you got your first album is really great and you find an audience, they really dig it, and a label wants to sign you on and then continue to go after that audience. Is it up to the band to just kind of do what they did again? Bands do often like to change. Labels sometimes like for bands to change. And is that I assume to a degree it's a anticipation of what the audience might want to connect with and wanting to help grow that way. And so I suppose the answer to this is probably it's a group effort. But in terms of looking at the, like, who's looking at that audience and saying, what are they into? What do they like? What do they not like? How do you take the feedback from the first album, kind of boil that down and figure out how that then synthesizes into a second album? Is the scenario that I'm thinking of in my head.
I think it's generally a mistake for a band or performer to go into the studio and intentionally make like first album part 2. I think that there needs to be at least some sort of growth in some way, even if it's not like extreme growth. But I feel like you need to change up something a little bit, or it's just going to be boring.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of bands just kind of have their sound and they just continue to do that. But I think the ones that have a lot of staying power and the ones that have longer careers do tend to change things up at least a little bit between albums. Like you think about let's do Vampire Weekend. Vampire Weekend, they have a lot of growth between albums. Their albums aren't like, you could critique their first album and be like, oh, it's like Paul Simon's Graceland. But as their albums progress, they're different. And that's what's made them, I think it's what's given them that kind of staying power. And it's what's made them a bigger band, album after album after album over the past, 15 years almost. And that's what Prince would do for a long time. That's why he had such a long, illustrious career. And that's what I think a lot of the bands that have a lot of staying power have in common, is that they don't try to do the same thing over and over, but they focus on making sure their songs are quality, that they're not like chasing trends necessarily, but they're still expressing growth. That you're still writing great, smart, catchy songs, but that you're trying something new. And sometimes it's going to work out, sometimes it's not going to work out. But that you're taking risks, I think, is that, I think, in what I think is that, trusting your audience to be at least a little bit smart, but not treating them like they're overly smart is kind of the best way I can put it. Like giving them some credit, but not over crediting them. Not asking too much of them, I think would maybe be the better way to say that. Give them some credit, don't ask too much of them. And as far as the label goes, set expectations up front. I think is what you have to do. I think you have to say, like, I don't want to do this part 2. And if you ask, don't expect that and don't ask that. But ultimately, if you ask a label for money, they're going to have input. And if you ever ask anybody for money, that person's going to want input because they gave you money. And there's a little bit less you can do there. So that's that's kind of where that comes into play. And if a label deems something as non-commercial, that's all they have to say. If they're like, I can't make money with this, I can't sell this, that's all they have to say. And if you don't have a lot of like clout, there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do about it. That's what 9 Days learned. They had a hit song and they had no clout. Or what was the band out of Portland from the movie Dig? The Dandy Warhols. They had to go and re-record a bunch of songs after they signed to a major label because the label deemed them non-commercial and was, probably right. They never were a hit band in America. They had some songs and commercials in Europe. They were successful in Europe. They had, some great sync placements and like Veronica Mars in the intro sequence for that TV show that made them a lot of money. But like, they were never hugely successful commercially in America. So as far as, that goes, label was kind of right.
Great. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm tracking.
Yeah. So did that answer? What do you think? Like, I don't know if those are like.
Sure. So what I'm hearing is an approach to the creative process that's more of a stay true to yourself, grow, and just from a growth perspective for the band in terms of how the next round of content is curated. And I guess in the back of my head, thinking more from like a corporate perspective of like, you figure out what your target audience is, you figure out what they like, and then you build products for that target audience. Kind of a mindset.
I think you got to keep your fans in mind because, you don't want to like leave them in the dust. I mean, in the 80s, Prince got a lot of shit from his original fans who were, largely Black. Like, you left your Black audience behind, and that really got to him. So he started trying to release albums to appeal back to them. Like, and he wrote songs for, quote, Black radio again, and like Adore on Sign of the Times. Like, that kind of criticism really got to him. So he tried to get back to it, even if it came at the price of the, mainstream total success and world domination. So yeah, I think that a mistake some people make when they get big success, and is that some people make just in general, is asking too much of your audience too quickly, and just expecting them to be with you every step of the way, getting too in the weeds. These people, they just want to have, they like your hits. They like your songs. They like you, that you got to nurture it a little bit for a while first before you get, too weird and too wild. It's like you go on a first date with somebody, you get coffee, you kind of like each other. You wait a while, you build that love, you build that trust before you get too weird.
Sure. I mean, it's the process of converting listeners to fans.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. So in the back of my brain, the part where I start to wonder, that I'm not very exposed to since I've never signed to a label and I didn't go to school for this, is so there's the got to keep the fans in mind, and more in the, to use the term of like target market. Oh my goodness, I just said target market market analysis. Goodness.
Sure,
I feel so corporate. So in the back of my head, like, so Owen Wilson doesn't have to do that.
Well, no, he already has a bunch of people who will go see a movie because they like who Owen Wilson is. I mean, he's part of it. Like, he's part of the appeal of a larger product. But, you know, people aren't going to see him. Most people aren't going to see a movie just because Owen Wilson is in it. But some people are.
And if they do, all I have to say is, wow.
Wow.
But I'm just thinking in the back of my head, I imagine labels are going to want to analyze the target market a little bit deeper and kind of just, is this commercial, is this non-commercial, and want to have that sway. And so I think the answer to the question I'm having a hard time verbalizing is more along the lines of, it is an ecosystem and everybody has to contribute to some sense or another. But I think that all makes sense. I suppose that's incredibly logical.
Well, now labels do more research, but like they didn't used to, dude. They used, and sometimes they still do this, man. Like, one band hits it big. Think Nirvana hit it big, and then major labels were like, oh, bands in Seattle that kind of vaguely sound like this are big. Let's sign all the bands in Seattle.
Right.
So then, like, bands like Screaming Trees that were nothing like Nirvana had like major label deals. And like some
Ivy
of them did really
on
big.
The wall.
Yeah. So you know that so like they would just like have all these bands kind of throw them at the wall, see what hits, and some labels still do this, and it's kind of, it ends up being a little predatory for the bands, because then you're like, okay, so Mumford and Sons hit it big, so now let's sign a bunch of Americana bands and just kind of see what hits. And then you have a major label contract, you don't have a ton of support, they're just like trying you in a couple markets, and then you're going to get dropped, and then you're not going to make any money because you have a bad deal, you know. And it's, you know, but you're excited, you can finally tell mom and dad you're on a major label, it's all been worth it. And
I finally did it, guys. I play boom clap music now.
Stomp clap.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Stomp clap. Stomp clap. No. You know, it's so, you know, it's easy to be like, oh, this is going to be my only chance. And maybe it is. Maybe you just want to go along for the ride once, you know?
Sure.
I don't think that's the worst idea in the world.
It's good exposure.
I mean, it's just to have that life experience once. It's not the worst thing in the world. I can't say I wouldn't do it if I could. I remember like when I was working at a record label, there was a band that was about to hit it big, and they were like, really, like, we knew. And this is a band that's still big and sell out like concert halls. And there was one band member who she didn't want to go. Like, she wasn't this primary songwriter. She wasn't a primary musician. She was in the band because she was really good friends with the people in the band. So she was like, she was essentially about to get like a really fun ride and make money and have to do very little compared to everybody else in the band. And she just didn't want to do it. And it's her prerogative. She didn't want to do it. And other people are looking at her like, you're about to have the ride of a lifetime.
Yeah. And
you're the right age to do it. She was like 19, and she just didn't want to do it. And it's totally fine. If that's not what you want to do, maybe all she wanted to do was, you know, play clubs in her hometown and like sleep in her own bed. And that's absolutely valid. And I was like 20 at the time. I was like, I can't believe she's not doing this. And now I'm 32, being like, yeah, kind of. Like, I still kind of
some people just know what they want.
I still can't imagine not doing it at 19, but like 32-year-old me is like, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, I kind of get it. I still would do. I would, you know, think that I would do it, but
I saw Almost Famous once. I'm good now. I mean,
you only saw Almost Famous once? How do you just watch that movie one time?
No, I've seen it more than one time. But no, it's fine for people to know what they want and to just kind of live their truth. I don't know. Is that too buzzwordy? It's a little.
No, I think it's good to live your truth. Live your truth.
Some people are making it to their late 20s and still figuring out what that looks like.
Roof. Well, we didn't talk about Mike's music in Cincinnati, Ohio at all, but maybe I'll talk about it when I get back from Cincinnati.
Let's talk about it when you get back. I think talking about connecting with an audience is always going to be a helpful topic to kind of to flesh out, and just food for thought for musicians to kind of dig into and think how they do that well. And as much as they're, I know that I sound really corporate by like
target market. And I don't like to think about it. The labels think about it as like your target market, and you shouldn't be thinking about your audience as like my target audience. You should be thinking about like my fans like my music. I think you should be making your music in terms of what you think sounds good. I think that you should be making music that you think sounds good and that you would listen to. Yes. I think that maybe you should be also thinking a little bit about what will other people like? Will people like that? Does it really work? I really do think that maybe you should ask other people, like, is this good? Do you think this is good? And I do kind of think you should be writing for other people a little bit, at least every once in a while, if you want to have a successful career. But I don't think that you should be thinking about your audience as a target market. I don't think that you should be thinking about them in corporate terms as people that you should be selling to as dollar signs and money and stuff like that. I think that you should be thinking of them as people with whom you want to build relationships and, have like a long, because when you build relationships with your fans, that's long lasting, and that's going to be more valuable for both of you going forward, And I think that when I say like, give them some credit, but don't ask too much of them. Like, give them some credit that if you grow a little bit, they're going to be willing to grow with you. Don't be too afraid to change, because then you're not giving them any credit that they're going to be willing to grow with you. Don't dumb it down for them, but also don't expect them to do a complete 180 with you, because that's a lot at once. And, it's just a lot.
That's how you end up with the stuck up snobs. Like, oh yeah, like I liked their first album.
I mean, you're gonna get that anyway. And you know what?
Honestly, I've definitely been that person.
If you get those snobs, then you have made it. Good for you. Good for you.
Well, so I know that I sound super corporate by using those terms, and I
just a little corporate.
I'm okay with it. Okay. And the reason why I'm okay with it is I'm discovering, like, the more I grow my day job career, that this is turning into like a very helpful framework for me to wrap my brain around how things work. And even if it sounds really lame, it helps in my head, like, understand how that all kind of, some of those dynamics and how it's all playing out. It's a good reference point for me.
Good.
I'm also just getting old and crotchety. I actually posted to my personal Facebook this week.
Did you?
Which I don't, for the first time in forever. I usually...
Oh, I did see that.
It was just along the lines of, like, Facebook's boring. I'm on LinkedIn now, and for whatever reason, I'm turning the old crotchety person that is enjoying.
I'm on LinkedIn.
I've just been... I don't look at Facebook hardly at all anymore. I'm more likely to go on LinkedIn and look at what people are releasing in the tech industry or other industries. I kind of just find it fascinating.
Oh, I hate LinkedIn so much. Just people trying to, like, sell my business things. I'm like, stop. I don't care.
So much of it is just like posturing and look at me. I'm cool. Please hire me.
Yeah. Well, or I did this beautiful thing and I gave somebody a chance. I hired somebody.
Sure. I'm not saying all the content's great, but just in terms of framework for wrapping my brain around things, it's been an interesting shift as I approach my late 20s.
Oh my God. You're so young. You're so young.
So young.
So young. Yes. Well, I guess I'll talk to you when I get back from Cincinnati.
Cincinnati?
Nasty.
Cincinnati.
That's a lot nicer than it used to be. Cincinnati.
A lot of places are.
Well, when the millennials moved back to the cities after our parents left them.
I am turning into the person that's like, oh yeah, and that over there, that used to be blank.
Yeah. Gosh, speaking of used to be, man, the Mercy Lounge, Cannery Ballroom, and Hiwatt in Nashville, They're going to have to move after being in the same place for 20 years.
Wow.
20 years. And so sad.
Well, that sounds much sadder than what I discovered yesterday, which is the restaurant where Melissa and I had our wedding reception is no longer there.
Well,
it was just a McCormick mix. It's not like it was.
Oh.
But.
Well, Rick and I got married was
sadness.
I think about almost a year to the day Rick and I got married. Our wedding venue was almost destroyed by a hurricane.
Oh no.
Here I am. Rock you like a hurricane. All right. Well, I'm going to go have I'm
going to go make coffee.
All right. Well, please check us out on Patreon. Subscribe on YouTube, Indeed. iTunes, Spotify.
Buy a hat. Buy a shirt.
Buy shit. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for understanding. Until next time, my name is Emily.
And my name is Andrew. Sorry, suppressing burp there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.